Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again. I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. And tonight we're reviewing Off-Season from director Mickey Keating. I guess I could get that G in there, right? Keating?
I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce it so preciously.
Yeah. Maybe not. All right, let me introduce the crew, starting off with the Living Dead Girls, the one and only. I'm Crystal Cleveland. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm just don't know how his name is written, and now I'm like, how do you pronounce his name? How is his name written? And how badly did Doc do pronouncing it?
He made it into a sound effect. Ka-ting!
Ka-ting! Yeah.
It's like a bullet.
Yeah.
Bing, bing. Ladies and gentlemen, award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing?
Are you acting or are you telling the truth? Are you acting or are you telling the truth? Are you acting or telling the truth? And scene. I'm doing okay.
Oh, man. He does that a couple times, actually. So, or somebody else does.
A little too much.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, man. Okay. So what we're going to do with this film, Off-Season, is give our first impressions. That will be spoiler-free. Then we'll dive into a discussion even. And then we will wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, a 1 to 5 on our favorite scene. And, of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And by many others, I mean a lot. And where am I going with this? Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Share with a friend. It'll do wonders.
Yep.
We hope you will do that. And, of course, we want to hear what you think in the comments down below. All right. What are you doing, Christopher?
I'm miming.
Doing comments
I'm
below.
miming. I'm not making fun of you. I'm miming.
It was kind of awesome. All right.
He's like...
Commenting?
All right, let's look at the card. Off-Season RLJE Films, available in theaters and video on demand and digital on March 11, 2022, written and directed by Mickey Keating.
Keating. Oh my gosh, that's what it... Oh my gosh.
Right, that's what I was trying to say.
Keating.
Keating.
Oh my gosh.
The cast includes Jocelin, Donahue, Joe Swanberg, and Richard Burke. I thought it was Break. Why is it Burke? It's Break. It's misspelled. Sorry, Mr. Burke. Mr. Break. Good God.
Gets no breaks.
No breaks. It totally burks. After receiving a mysterious letter, a woman travels to the desolate island town and soon becomes trapped in a nightmare of grammar and pronunciation. All right, let's get into this. Let's give our first impressions of Off-Season. Crystal, you are up first.
Okay, so this movie has a small cast, and it only has a few locations. So if you're expecting some big, crazy movie, it's not really that. It's more story-based, and I guess I want to say character-based, but it's really not a character study either. The problem with this movie is that I think that they were trying to tell a really big story, and they only told like this much of the story. There's a lot left unanswered. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of motivational issues that I had. Some of it I really understood and got, and then other parts absolutely made no sense as to why a character was doing this, that, or the other. They did explain some of it as you go along, but there's still some big plot holes that honestly kind of bothered me, because I think the concept of this is kind of cool. Since we're not in spoilers, I don't want to give anything away, but conceptually I could see it working and being really, really interesting. But I think you even needed more of the lore, more of, would you call this a folklore? Yeah. I mean, technically at its core,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know,
maybe Lovecraftian.
Yeah, and I do like those, but we get this much of yeah. And I think it was acted well. I think everyone did well. It just was. It felt pointless. That's the truth. It just felt pointless. I enjoyed it because I liked some of it and I liked some of the concept. They had a very good fog machine, and you know how much I appreciate that. That gets some points there for me. Yeah, but the story just really didn't go anywhere. Took
a long time to get there too.
Yeah. So it didn't. I didn't feel it. I didn't get into it. I didn't care. So, I'm sorry.
Yikes. All right, Christopher G. Mohr, give us your initial impressions of Off-Season.
You mean Fog Machine Island?
In the palm of my hand.
They got their money's worth out of that $12 fog machine from Spirit Halloween. I did not like this film.
No.
If you want to call it Lovecraft, it has the visual craft without the love of storytelling. It's boring. It's monotonous. It's basically Wandering Woman the movie, where she's just wandering around the majority of it by herself. Like, oh, where are you? Where are you? Oh, it's creepy old lady with the eyes. And then if you're gonna go full Lovecraft, and maybe you need to show a little bit more, but you could see they're kind of limited budget wise, and then to the point to where like the big most well-known person, Richard Brake, we have to just book in his role and not have him interact with many people. I mean, it's visually shot really well, but it's one of the most boring films I've seen in a while. I didn't really care about the characters. I thought the mom character was not well acted. I didn't care about her. And then on top of that, they structure it like it's supposed to be like a novel with all these, the movie's already only an hour, like 23 minutes or something. And I felt like they tried to get there by putting these little old timey, slides from like silent films or whatever. And it didn't need to be there. I almost feel like they tried to throw us off the scent of like, oh, this is boring, so let's put these little slides in here so you can go pee for a second. I don't know. I think visually there's some cool visuals, use of light and stuff, and then there's other parts where the craft goes off the rails. There's a part where her hand gets grabbed that's really shoddily filmed in like this weird 80s slow motion where they didn't film in slow motion and it looks rough. And I think it ends. I hated the ending. I think when the most interesting part is her watching an instructional video, it's so yeah, there's not a lot to this. There's not a lot to it. And it shows, and it's so stretched out. It tries to be very folk horror, but it's more folked up horror for me. I felt like the description. I felt trapped in nightmare having to watch this film. I did not like this film. That's all I'll say.
Don't sugarcoat it. All right.
Yep.
I'm stumbling because how do you top that? You don't. You don't. I didn't have as many qualms with this film, but boring it can be. By the end, I did find myself interested in it toward the end, but yeah, it spends a lot of time just like going around in circles in the middle of it. Going from this random location to that random location without feeling like it's progressing the story at all. There are moments that I liked, but in the most part, it's a weaker entry from a director. I am interested in what they're doing, and they do. I mean, like I said, with the fog machine, there's tones and atmosphere in this from time to time, but I'm not sure it all comes together like they probably hoped we would think.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean,
So you guys kind of said, maybe we're in spoilers now, and by the end of the film, I found this to be, what they're trying to do is a Lovecraft story. They're in the right location. They're on an island. There's a man from the sea that comes out and gets them.
Well,
Yeah.
big Cthulhu type monster.
Yeah, oh yeah, and then visually there's a Cthulhu in it.
And shadows. They don't have the budget to actually.
Yeah, and I've seen that.
Anything.
I've seen it handled that way before, and it's hard to realize that even when you have a budget. To be honest.
Well, but if you're getting dragged into the sea, they didn't even create tentacles, not anything. It's just some invisible force, and I felt cheated. It's because I feel like there wasn't anything in this film that showed any level of, other than maybe the cinematography with the use of colored lights in certain parts. There wasn't much craftsmanship as to any of the horror elements. You can only get so far on her walking around in fog to where I was like, okay, I'm bored. Let's ever walk around a museum for a portion of the film.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a lot of wandering. And now she's wandering around the building where everybody's frozen inside. Oh, that's interesting.
And that's exactly it. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't.
Yeah.
It
She's
didn't
going
go
places,
anywhere.
but it didn't go
Yeah.
anywhere. So when your character's walking around and nothing's really happening, you might as well just be on a stationary bike throughout the whole film. That's basically where the story is. So it's like you have to have build, and you can flashback all you want to other things, but I didn't really care about these characters. I didn't really understand her big need. I didn't really see her connection to her mom and all. So I didn't understand that. And then you have that. Was that guy a boyfriend? What was?
I was assuming he was some kind of ex or something. It seemed like.
I guess so, but then he kind of disappears, and then.
But they split up multiple times. I mean, I just think it's odd.
Yeah, why would you split up in this weird ass place? And then I got mad at her because I feel like with everything going on, I think I would take that gun no matter where you're going. I don't know. I just got irritated with characters, and it was just boring, I mean, this is another version of slow burn, which I call slow fog, where it rolls around in the fog and doesn't go anywhere. And then by the end of it, it's just mist. There's nothing of substance. You're just, so I don't know. I mean, it's shot, it's shot well. I mean, I love there's like one part that kind of reminded me of Back or Creep where they're in that car and there's that red light off the back.
Oh, that was pretty.
Which I love that to where you can create creepy stuff based on regular lights from like a car and stuff. But then the conversation in the car was just so boring. I just felt like, oh God, I think I felt like my eyes rolled back in my head and I looked like some of the creepy people with their white eyes. Nice. I was like, ugh, go somewhere with this, and then the ending is just a letdown. It's like, oh, we have this shadowy figure in the sea and stuff. And then we get the big Twilight Zone-y ending, it's like, I don't know.
There was no character development at all.
Well, I'm not even sure what her arc was. The arc is so muddled.
What
there
was
wasn't
it?
And then
That's why I'm saying it didn't go anywhere.
Right. And
there was no arc for her mother, her friend, her brother, or that's her uncle, I think, actually, technically, or her I mean, it was just like, oh, okay.
They just say there's really no explanation for the grandma thing other than the very end where you find out that's the grandma.
But I knew it was her grandma because she said, just like the brother said, she's like, well, didn't your mom tell you? And then the brother said, or the uncle, technically to her, said, what, your mom didn't even mention me? Damn, like. They both. I realized they were connected when they both said that. Yeah, so I mean, but still, it doesn't matter.
I mean, the only thing that looked okay was the part where the guy had like branches coming out his eyes. I mean, that was kind of an okay scene, but it still wasn't. It was kind of a boring scene for what they were doing. So I don't know. I didn't see much of anything that I was entertained by in this film.
And then they kind of remind me of the Village of the Damned. Like the way that they were when they were in there, like there was nothing. They weren't scary.
Yeah, it was like basically Island of the Damned with a little bit of the fog. You know,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
has
yeah.
all these different.
Yeah.
It stole all these different things, but didn't do anything with it. It's like pulling all these ingredients and not throwing it in the pot. You just let them
Mhm.
sitting outside to where it's just boiling water that
Yeah.
boils away by the end. And that's basically what this film is in a nutshell. It's just there's nothing real substance to it. So by the end, you just felt like, did I watch a movie? Was that what that was, or was it just a bunch of visuals?
Okay, good. I kind of thought I was the only one that felt this way about it. I was like, because I did kind of like some of what the way it looked, and I liked the lead actress a lot. So I was feeling
Well-
kind of guilty.
Well, the thing is, like, I think that this could have been a good story, but you have to have interaction with characters for that to play out.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've seen this type of stuff before, where people go into like a weird. I mean, it's like Midsommar or something, or where you meet all these characters in this weird environment, and then you find out the real thing behind it. You know, and you there's things from the '80s like that too, like something strange this way comes or whatever.
Oh, something wicked. Yeah.
Something wicked this way comes. I mean, where you meet these characters and then you find this underlying menace behind it. Because we had all these different, like there was like in the cemetery, there's a little, it looked like a sacrificial thing that it's just there for that one scene, and there's nothing. It has no other reason for it. You know, I thought somebody. I mean, I don't know. There was potential,
I also
but nothing
would like to
more than
know
that.
how the thing feeds, because remember he said, and then it feeds, and I'm like, okay, this could have been something that would have been kind of cool to like, explore. I'm sure that was all budgetary or whatever, but still, I f-
They had a brief explanation that I guess it feeds off of energy
yeah,
during the
but
regular season.
I think it was after though. I think
Was
it
it
only comes
after?
after,
I
and
don't
so
know.
that's what I'm saying. How does that work? Or
I
I
thought
don't know.
I
It's
thought
just
they meant like
confusing.
the people who visit bring
Hmm.
positive energy, but I don't know. There's really nothing. There's really nothing to latch on to really understand what exactly happened in this film, other than a few of the imagery parts. But yeah, it's very bare bones.
Hmm.
It's just like the cemetery. It's just bare bones story
Nah.
wise.
No, no, very,
And
very bones
foggy,
even.
and very
Very
foggy.
foggy, to where it's like,
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
Don't
It's
really
like
get
I
it.
just got really this. How many times we have to use the fog? It's almost like we need to hide the set or
Hey,
the
Oh, it's
location.
supposed to be
I
a
just
foggy
want
island.
I just want to point out that I am a-okay with all the fog. In fact, I welcome it. I don't know what it is, but I love fog and haze. So
Well, if it's done well, but it was very obvious. It was put the fog machine over
Wow.
here and blow it this way, and
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. Crystal, you are up first.
okay, so I do still think some people are gonna like this. I just felt like this was lacking in multiple ways. I didn't hate it, and I didn't love it. So I found it was okay. So I'm going to give it a fudge.
A fudge?
Mm,
I don't think it's a rating. It's a delicious food.
Smack
but
you.
not a rating.
2.75.
2.75.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's better than 2.5 is average, slightly better than average. So there we go. Okay. Um, my favorite scene was the flare gun shot and the fire, I guess, because that's pretty much all there was. If y'all don't remember it, that's okay.
I don't remember it.
It's the uncle, the uncle.
Oh, the uncle.
The
yeah,
guy that
okay.
had branches on his eyeballs.
Hmm.
I see. Yes, I remember. Christopher G. Mohr, sir, your final thoughts, your score, your favorite scene.
Well, off season delivers on the off. I uh and
Often season.
yeah, and I think it's I think when people use the term their memory's a little foggy, I felt like mine was by the end of this film, because I felt like there wasn't it was not well thought out story wise. I mean, I think the cinematography in certain scenes worked for the most part, but it was, yeah, it's very bare bones. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of meat on this story to really make sense. And I think, there's just a few rare filmmakers that can do a lot with just one person running around. Tom Hanks can do it, but this film, the story didn't work, and I think there's definitely potential with that story, but that potential was not delivered on any level of imagination. I felt this film was drawn out. It's very monotonous. It's very boring. It's just it's very a lot of wandering, a wandering character through all these different areas that gives a brief explanation, but not enough to really matter by the end of it. I did not like this film, if you couldn't tell by my weird verboseness. I will. It gets a 1.5 for me.
Whoa!
It's really one of the things that I think. Yeah, it just, a lot of things bother me because it's like, again, you can have all really good cinematography in some ways, but then it's like, if you don't have anything behind it, what's the use of me watching this? And I think all the little individual silent film things that pop up as chapters in this, I mean, this is not, this makes literature, this puts literature down by using that. It's like Tarantino can do that and other filmmakers do that, but there was really no need for that. I think that just added an extra level of pretentiousness that was not needed. It's hard for me to pick a really good scene because I see a lot of this that I really liked. I'll just say this because of the framing of it, but I kind of liked when she tries to leave and Richard Brake is like standing behind these two red lights.
Oh yeah.
And he's just very intense, and it's just one. It keeps going between him and her, but he's like spitting, and he's like, "I can't leave." I kind of like that. I liked his delivery in that. I think I kind of wished we'd had more of that with the other characters, or at least interaction wise. So yeah, I think this is one of those things where it could have worked if they'd had interaction with other characters and scenes to sort of explain this kind of stuff. But I think the frozen people at one point just shows you the level of like, we're not even going to have these characters interact with anybody, and she's just going to go around screaming or shooting at things and for no reason. So anyway,
so I didn't have as much of a problem with the film. I actually, I was really bored at first, but I did get into it by the mid part, and I found it to be very, very much Lovecraftian. So the townsfolk started making more sense. Everything about it made more sense in relationship to Lovecraftian stories. But having said that, if that is the way it was intended, it needed more information to support that going in. And a lot of it is wonky information, or even, like you said, character motivation, character development. There's a mystery about what her mom, this thing about her mom and these flashbacks, and it's not provided in a way to give the proper context. It gives it a context, but I think it kind of makes the story a little shaky. So I reluctantly and begrudgingly agree with Christopher and Crystal. This film needs help, and maybe had a good concept, but the execution took it in a different direction somehow. Mm-hmm. I was going to give it a 2.75. So because for probably the same reason, it's better than average. Mm-hmm. And I think there is an audience that's actually going to get into it, but they're, I'm not really. It's not going to be many other people in this podcast, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So favorite scene, you literally took my favorite scene, which is the final Richard Brake scene, because, like you said, the dialogue, it's just great. And he screams "fuck me" 3 times, and then and then like bouncing back and forth. But if I can't pick that one, I'm going to pick one that was a favorite scene, but led to being one of the biggest disappointments, which I think is interesting. It's the first time I think it's the grandmother character. She has a name, and she's the first character that shows up in that.
Miss Emily.
Miss Emily, right? And her eyes, and it's just the first time you see her, and I was really spooked by her. That was a little bit of a point where I got interested in the film. Okay, what's going on? I got spooked. But that technique isn't used, and that character for a lot of it isn't used to a point to keep me interested in it. It actually started to become a little, okay, you have one character that shows up. Now that I've seen the 20th character that shows up all lined up behind her, I'm not really that interested in that anymore, right? So really, I don't know. I hope you understand my frustration with having to pick a particular scene.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to mention, I hated the music, the use of sounds and music in this, because they kept overusing this sort of like ringing tone. They kept overusing it over and over and over, and it just added to the monotony of the film. I think that was another factor that kind of like made me not like what was happening, because they just kept and they kept playing the same type of music, like the old timey music thing. They kept replaying over and over,
and that had no context.
Yeah,
like it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. And they should have created some I'm totally with you on the music. Why was it that? And there was no context around it at all. Like they never showed any flashbacks to that time. And even still, you would assume that it was even further back when they made their freaking deal with the quote unquote whatever fish god.
Well, that was like ages and ages and ages ago, right?
Yeah. So then why play that music from that period? It doesn't make any sense. It's very strange.
I don't know.
Just to try to make it feel creepy, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe some people will enjoy that aspect of it. I think.
Yeah, Christopher. Yeah.
Just, I will not be watching this film again on Shudder. I hate to tell you.
Oh no!
Yeah,
oh no!
Me
All right.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our wonderful review of Off-Season. And a number of Christmas lists that we were marked off of. And
there's a lot of other great
20 minutes. All right.
There
absolutely is.
Shudder's the best.
Advent calendar, for instance.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Help! Crystal, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Sorry, we're so honest.
Yeah. It wasn't bad for a one-time watch. Just, just because
we're digging her.
You're starting to sound like me.
We're digging her alley grave.
All right, let's get out of here. Let's say good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.